Hey, this is Aus, and you're listening to The Locals Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Locals Podcast. And this week we are stepping away from the traditional either folk or rock and roll that we usually have on the show. I've only had, I think, maybe two rappers on the show. I think Clapper and then John Penman were my only two rap artists. So this week we have a very special guest. His name is AUS. Spelled AUS, and he is actually a friend of one of my really good friends, Richard Huguenot. Shout out if you're listening.
Shout out indeed.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, Richard is the man. Speaking of that, Richard, we got music to work on. So he's gonna.
Dude,
have to
I feel like every time I talk to him, I say the exact same thing to him, and then I don't see him for 6 months. So you know.
Yeah. He's a busy dude, man. He sent me this long lyrics that he wrote because he mentioned the idea of maybe ghostwriting a song for me, and I was all over the idea. And he sent me these lyrics, and I plan on using them. I just haven't found the right song to put them to yet.
Right.
So. Richard, if you're listening, hit Aus up, hit David up. Let's get this music underway. But before we begin talking with Aus and all the things that he's got going on, man, first off, I want to say, as always, if you have not heard of the show before and you like what you hear, jump over to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter and search up TheLocalsOH. Give us a follow, give us a like, whatever they do on those things, hook us up. And if you want to support the show even further, jump over to patreon.com/thelocalsoh, and just for $1, you get the bonus episode called The Local Breakdown, where I'm going to be talking with Aus about some of the equipment he's using. We're going to break down songwriting a little bit more, and just maybe how you prepare for a live show or something along those lines. So all of that is on patreon.com/thelocalsoh. So let me take a look at my script here, because I know that we worked really hard on pre-show to figure all this out. We spent a good 15 minutes making sure everything was solid. So yeah, man, just looking through SoundCloud, I dipped into your bio a little bit. Again, we've never met before, so I kind of had to do a little bit of research. And one of the things that stuck out to me is before you started doing rap, you were playing guitar. And actually looking through we're using Skype right now, over off to, it'd be your right, you've got a pile of guitar cases over there. So talk to me about this, man. When you were, I think you said 2008, you picked up guitar? What's that? Walk me through that.
So let me think of the order of things. So I actually, so 2008, I actually started with bass guitar. So even earlier than that, my dad had a lot of guitars. I was bought guitars like kiddie guitars or whatever, and I just never really caught on. There was a little while where I tried playing like some 3 Days Grace songs on my dad's guitars, and like
I'm there with you, man.
One of the first songs I learned was "The Beautiful People," Marilyn Manson. So some real easy songs, and then it kind of like dropped off to me or for me, and then so in 2008. I started playing bass, and I enjoyed playing it, but it just didn't really do much for me. So then that Christmas, I got my first guitar, which was it was a Dyma Flame. So it was one of Dimebag Darrell's signature guitars.
Okay.
And I was like really into metal music. And so I've kind of just had a long trek so I went from, so I was playing that for maybe a year or two. And then my dad's band he was in, Padded Room, they lost their
Please
guitar.
Tell me they were a metal band.
They were a metal band.
Yes.
We opened a couple times for like Mushroom Head. We opened a couple times for Nonpoint. So I mean, like they were together for quite a few years before I joined, but their guitarist left, and I just really wanted to get involved. And my dad was like, well, you've been playing guitar for, 2-3 years. I mean, see if you can learn the songs. And man, was I absolutely determined to play the show that they had 2 weeks later. Because I did. I learned the songs that they played. Wasn't anything difficult. But yeah, and then from there, I was in that band until my freshman or sophomore year of college.
Okay.
So I played with them for a while. I had a high school band that I was in for a while. And then I had a folk project that never really did. We never really did anything.
Yeah.
But it was just my one buddy and I. I tried picking up banjo. I sucked at it, but I tried.
Yeah. Yep.
And then now I'm here.
So when there was a point that I wanted to bring up. Hold on, let me think about this for a second. Talking about kiddie guitars. Dude, my parents bought me this little Lion by Washburn, and that was my first real guitar. And I don't know if that guitar, I'd have to look online, but I don't know if that guitar was like $50 or, whatever. But
right.
That guitar was like my pride and joy, And the reason I bring this up is because we were talking about songs we learned when we first started playing guitar. And of course, everybody learned how to play it, The Beautiful People, things like that. Now, 2 songs, please tell me you learned these because I think everybody did. One was, was it Longview by Green Day? No, it was Brain Stew by Green Day.
Yep.
Brain Stew by Green Day. And then the other one was Smells Like Teen Spirit.
I never played Smells Like Teen Spirit, but another one that could be a honorable mention in that list is Wonderwall. I do know that song.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I think I learned that one too. Jeez, that's crazy. We used to have when I was this was when did I get my first guitar? This was middle school, and there was a group of us that took a real big interest in learning guitar and stuff. So we got a hold of some of the teachers and said, "Hey, would it be cool if we could do a after school guitar club, essentially, where nobody was teaching us. We would just go into a room and we just set everything up and just start jamming, And there was a lot of guitar players in there that sounded like shit.
I believe it. I absolutely believe it.
Oh man, dude, but that was a good time, man.
It's just since we were on the point of kiddie guitars, I don't remember the brand I had. I was like elementary school age, but what I do remember is a little blonde kid. With his leg propped up on some kind of prop or whatever, and he had a cowboy outfit on, and he was strumming this guitar. So, I shout out to my grandparents for that guitar.
That is awesome. Yeah, man. So we got to step back for a second because you mentioned folk project. Now, listen, if you're listening to the show and you don't know Aus, he is a rapper. You could be hearing his music in the club at some point, So hearing that you went from playing 3 Days Grace to playing folk music to now playing to writing rap music, dude, this transition is wild. Okay, so what I want to know is this. We'll come back to the folk comment here in a minute. But what made you decide to want to try all these different avenues of music? So you clearly started out trying the metal thing. For whatever reason, that didn't end up panning out. Then you did the folk thing for a second. And now you're balls. Well, I don't know if I should say balls deep since we're trying to keep it clean.
You're all good.
But now you're neck deep in rap. So walk me through this transition. Why the change?
So, I'm sure at some point we will talk about this, but one big thing, and even why I started doing music was a big thing was just my brother.
Okay.
So after he passed away, I got his bass guitar. That's why I started with bass, but I wanted more than that. And so he got me really into metal music. And that was he was someone who didn't like 3 Days Grace and those kind of bands. He was like, you should be liking better music. So,
and here Austin is playing the music on the bass guitar.
So for my birthday, he gave me Cowboys from Hell by Pantera, and he gave me Paranoid by Black Sabbath, and then a ball of toilet paper. Not a roll, just like balled up some toilet paper and threw it in there, and a pudding cup and a mini Coca-Cola. But so he just like full force like inspires the music for me in general. And after his passing, metal was a huge just like it let out a lot of aggression, as I'm sure for a lot of people who initially get into metal. But then he passed. And I got his CD collection, and it ranged from rap music to acoustic to, it was just full range. And now that didn't really click for me until I got, senior year of high school or into college, where really like a lot of things just started appealing to me. And so just like, from there, my interests have never really been closed off to any kind of like ideas as far as where I want to go creatively or, there was also a point where I did have kind of like I had kind of a moment in my life where I was like, okay, I'm going to step away from metal and find something, a little more happy or joyous.
I see.
So like I listened to a lot of one of the first like people I listened to hardcore acoustic music wise was Jack Johnson. And it was like, I would throw him on and it was just like, if I was frustrated and I threw it on, it just like brought me down to that level playing field of But so anyway, long story short, he inspired a lot of the just interest in many avenues of music.
Yeah, that's cool. That I kind of took something away from that story. That it's cool. It is really, actually, really inspiring for myself too. To hear that you got his record collection, and that you saw that he didn't just listen to Cowboys from Hell. He listened to what you were saying, acoustic music, rap music, all things all over the spectrum. So for you, that was an inspiration to be like, listen, I don't have to just play metal. I can play the folk music or I can play rap music, and you took the inspiration, you decided, I'm going to jump into this, man, and just go for what I feel is right.
Right.
That's really cool. That's really inspiring for me alone too, because right now in my musical career, I'm bouncing between. Actually, I would say within the last 2 years, I've been bouncing between genres. So, like before all of this stuff that I think you've heard my new single. I think you actually messaged me over it. Before I wrote that, I was in a band called Bad Wolf, and it was like blues rock, heavier, like Black Keys stuff, And then I did the Ready Fuels, which you've heard me talk about on the show before, which was a little bit heavier, a little bit aggressive, things like that. And then I actually stepped away and did one pop song. Kind of very similar to along the lines of like Clapper the Rapper. I wasn't singing like him, but we had the same producer, so the music was very similar. And now I'm writing like indie rock, which, you heard with my single Ameliorate. And for me, just hearing that story about how your brother inspired you to just pursue whatever genre music you felt comfortable with at the now or whatever, that inspires me to just be like, dude, this is what I want to do right now. Who cares if people are like, why you change your band name 5 times?
Right.
Things like that. That's really inspiring for me. So if you don't mind, can we talk about your brother?
Yeah, for sure.
So just now. Again, share with as much or as little as you want. Now, obviously, this is a very traumatic experience for you, but I just kind of want to get inside your head as to why, outside of your record collection inspiring you for your music, there's obviously a deeper meaning with your brother passing away. So I want to get inside your head and figure out where your mindset is with the whole thing. So walk me through it.
Let me think of where to. So,
again,
gathering thoughts.
I was going to say,
so it starts. So my brother, he was someone I was always kind of like really close with, even as a 4-year-old who he was watching because he was 9 years older than me. So he would watch me a lot whenever parents would go out and everything like that.
Right.
And so we were really close. There was, of course, a point in time where he got to like high school, and it wasn't. I mean, we distanced a little bit, but it was also like he was just going through, whatever he was going through, as a typical high schooler does. So some events led to him moving with his dad. So I guess I should also say him and I don't have the same dad, but that never really changed anything as far as the way we viewed one another.
Right.
But he went to live with his dad in New Jersey for a while. He moved back. And then from that point on, so one step backwards is that before he moved, my parents got a divorce.
Okay.
And so that was whenever he moved out there. Parents moved apart from one another. I didn't see him for a while. And so honestly, that was like really hard, but I also didn't understand because it was 5th grade. So like I got it, but I didn't. And at that time, it like there was just a lot of things going on. I was bullied a lot at school, at the new school that I went to. And then everything going on with the parents, they split. He moved. He came back like maybe a year later with his dad, was living with him. And it was like he came back like completely changed. And
really?
he made like every effort possible to for me to know that there was someone there for him and that he was looking out for me. Like he was so I never had like a drug, sex, alcohol talk with my parents. It was him who did that kind of thing. He was because of course I had my grandparents, and I'm really close with them as well. But obviously a bit different than a figure from a brother. Like you get different things from both.
Right.
So anyway, it was just kind of like every step of the way, a lot of the things that I carried out through high school years and everything as far as my decisions, my choices, what I decided to do, a lot of it came from what he taught me and so there was just like a lot of things we had planned on because he passed away when I was in 8th grade. And there was a lot of things like he was helping me save up to get a BMX bike, and I was going to bike ride with him. And
nice.
He made sure at least once a week him and I were doing something. And he made it like a point just to, try to fill that void that was no longer there. Yeah. Whenever my parents split up. So, I could go on forever. I'm sure about all of it. Cause like, my mom I was never really close with, but she had custody of me. So really the one light in the tunnel that I had during that time was him. And like the times that we would hang out or go out together. And what's really cool, this is just like a little random thing, but like him and I went and saw the first Transformers movie together just as like an example of something we would do. And I actually still have the tickets from whenever we went in like a frame with a picture of him and I. I know it's so random, but
that's adorable though, man. That's awesome.
So, it's just a lot of things. And to put it as like simple as this is that anymore, whenever I make decisions or every day I get home and I want to just sit and do nothing or whatever it is, I always have that thought in my brain of like, kind of like, what would he encourage me to do? And it's like simple little thing that I always say to myself if I'm like, if there's something that gets me angry or however I feel like I want to react to something. Right. It's just kind of like, there was a lot of things that he instilled into, I guess, my being before he left.
Okay, that makes sense. Wow, man, it's incredibly like commendable of you to take such a positive look on all this. Like you sound like you went through the ringer, man. And I'm trying to say that as respectfully as I can. But I mean, just with parents' divorce, him moving out to New Jersey, and then him coming back and almost like changed, for whatever reason. Obviously we don't know what happened well, you might know what happened in Jersey, but we don't, the listener doesn't know what happened in Jersey. So for him to still find like the time to like bring you up, essentially, you know what I mean, he sounds like a great person, man. Now, I'm sure that every time you watch the first Transformers movie, you probably brings you to tears, I'd imagine. That's crazy.
So I don't watch Transformers that often because it's just an all right movie. I've watched it maybe one other time.
Yes. Oh my God. When you were saying that, the joke came into my head, but I was like, I don't know if that would be offensive. I'm just going to leave it alone.
No.
That's great.
There's certain things that will trigger like those kind of feelings, but I promise Transformers isn't one of them.
I don't think Transformers invoked any feelings in any of us.
No, it's more just like the memory of it than the actual like,
right. Yeah.
So
that's awesome. It's cool that you're taking it so well, and you use such a traumatic experience as a catalyst for everything you're doing musically, and maybe even just like I don't know if you're in school or work or whatever your plans are as far as that, but you just seem to channel all of his positive energy into what you're doing, and that's awesome, man. I commend you for it, because that sounds like you went through a very, very tough situation, man.
Dude, I mean, I will say, just like as an addition, I mean, it took a very long time to get to that mindset. And it's like, it's like, even so, whenever I see that someone else has lost somebody, obviously people who are surrounding, their immediate reaction is, if there's anything I can do, let me know. But it's like, there is nothing anyone can do. And it's just like, so even acquaintances that I've had from like school or whatever, I've reached out to them because it's like, sometimes they even need to know that somebody, knows that there isn't much that can be done other than saying that, like the simple fact of knowing that someone else has known what you've gone through sometimes helps alone, because it makes it almost easier to even talk with them. But I mean, I don't know. Anyway, so it took a long time.
I'm sure it did. And just to your point too, like I have a bad problem with trying to help everybody. You know what I mean? So like, if you would have hit me up and said, "Hey, dude, I went through this terrible time," like just me being Dave always wants to try to help somebody out,
right?
So what I've gotten a habit of doing is, if something, I'm not going to name names. I know he doesn't listen to this show, but I'm just going to talk about this situation that I'm just going to say acquaintance. That way I don't give any hints. Anyways, him and his wife got pregnant. It was going to be their third child, and she miscarried. And obviously that's a very upsetting situation, right?
Right.
So what I did was, because of what you were saying, like when people reach out to say, "Is there anything I could do for you?" Like, even though those people mean well, for you, it's kind of like, dude, there's nothing you can do.
Right.
So how I at least try to approach situations like that from now on, it's like, hey man, you want to go grab a bite to eat, or you want to go to a movie, or you want to go, to a concert or whatever, because in my mind, I'm like, this person needs maybe something to distract them from the terrible situation that they might be in. Obviously there's a grieving period.
Right.
Let them get through their grieving period, and then just take them to get their mind off of it. Don't bring it up. Don't ask them, "Hey dude, how are you doing with this terrible situation?" It's like, no dude, let's go out. Let's have a good time. Let's focus on happy thoughts, happy memories, and things like that. Which everybody approaches things differently. I have a bad habit of trying to fix everything.
No, I mean, I think that's like the best approach possible, because like, so even during that time, at the same time, I had a lot of friends who, they just like dropped off the face of the earth. And I think a part of it was too, that they didn't know how to handle it. And, I mean, that really is kind of like the best thing, is being able to just be a friend and be like, "Hey, let's go do X, Y, and Z," because
I agree.
You don't even have to bring anything up. You can just, it's literally just to get the mind off of the situation and keeping it occupied. Because, I mean, the more you talk about it, the more you're just thinking about it. I mean, it's literally just a process of, being able to come to terms with what's happened. And really, you don't even, I mean, you come to a better place mentally with it, but you never it never goes away.
No, right. Understandable. So it's just kind of how it's all about how you make it's how you interpret the situation and how you make it. So like you could just as easily just be sad all the time, or you can do what you're doing, what AUS is doing, and channeling all of that and putting it into your music and making great music. Real quick, I know that AUS obviously. The death of his brother is a very, very traumatic experience. He put out a song called Ryan's Song, which I'm assuming that's your brother's name.
Yes.
Okay. And I just want to play a short clip of Ryan's song right now for everybody.
Feeling this way. Now you're gone, life just ain't the same. Another loss, another.
So this is obviously very different from your sound.
Yes.
We talked about how you went from metal to you dabbled in folk to rap music, and most of your stuff on SoundCloud is all rap music. But you put out Ryan's Song, which is an acoustic, borderline. I guess it is just a singer-songwriter song, obviously about your brother. Now, if you don't mind, let's talk about that song. What made you decide to step away from rap to write that song?
So
I'm assuming your brother, but
right.
Let's make it a little deeper than just that.
Right. No. So it's actually a song I wrote quite some time ago. I wrote it.
Okay.
Oh boy, when did I write it? I think actually my sophomore year of it was around the time when I left the band, the Padded Room band that I was in high school, because I started just kind of like writing a lot of music, writing a lot of acoustic stuff. And then so at one point I finally, felt as though I was capable of just kind of like writing a song to put the emotions that I felt into it, or the emotions that I felt about the past into that song. It's been an older song. It's one of the first songs I ever wrote. And, and actually the reason I haven't released it until now is just kind of like, I never really had, now I have this project out and I have at least like somewhat of I've established myself as an artist.
I see.
And I just feel it's like, it's a proper part of, it's just a part of me. Like it's something that I've written. I've wanted to release it, but I never felt like a time was right yet.
Yeah.
And it just felt right.
Yeah, that's a great point. I've said this on the show before, so I'll keep it brief. But my song "Ameliorate" is I went through nothing as traumatic as what you went through, but I went through something that was pretty dark, and it put me in a bad mental place. How I coped with that was writing "Ameliorate." And I sent that to a bunch of some close peers. I sent it to Shelby Olive. I sent it to Mayor Words. I sent it to a handful of people who are successful in the music scene. And I just wanted to get their opinion on, hey, what do you think of this? And my reason being is because I was scared to release it. Just like how you said that this is one of your first songs and you're just now releasing it.
Right.
And I'm sure you probably had the same mentality is dude, I put a literal piece of me into this song, and I don't know if putting it out there, if people don't receive it, it's going to make me feel like that feeling was in, what's the word I'm looking for? Just inferior or something along those lines.
Right. No, I mean, that definitely was a part of it too. That was actually okay, so, I'll try to make this point brief. But
no, you're good, dude. This is a podcast, man. We've got all the time. We got all the time in the world.
But so during that time when I was writing the acoustic stuff, and even still whenever I first started the rap stuff, I was just super self-conscious about my voice. And even in that song, I still don't feel like I'm an immaculate singer, but there's a lot of emotion behind it. And I feel like that's what takes it away with that. Okay. But the other point that I was trying to get to as far as just like, how is it going to be received and everything is my first EP that I put up on SoundCloud, and I actually have that one on Spotify and all the other streaming services. But like, I have a lot more rasp in my voice in those, and it was a lot of me. Like, so I now listen to that EP and I cringe a little bit.
Oh my goodness!
But it's also pretty great because I see a lot of development in myself, both as a producer and as a hip hop artist.
Wait, so are you talking about the Running Ryan song EP? You feel a little cringing?
No. So the very first EP I put out a year.
Oh,
it's Finding Myself.
Okay, I see it here. Yep. Okay.
So I was very raspy in it, but it wasn't because it was like a natural me coming out. It was like, I don't like the way my voice sounds, so I'm going to like distort it in a way. And then,
I see.
And so that's part of the reason I cringe so much, but it's really cool listening to it and being like, I've learned a lot from that.
Yeah. I've said this on the show before, but I would love to go back and take like maybe 5 songs I did in high school, the really bad ones, and redo them.
Yep. No, definitely.
That would be so awesome just to show off like how far we've both come, what I mean? Just in our own music. But actually that brings me up to a point. That's a great segue into this next point that I wrote. So the cool thing about AUS is that like you self-produce all that music is yours. You don't outsource for anything, right? I mean, you're not like buying beats or.
So the only beat that I have is a song I haven't released yet.
Okay.
So what it was is I paid for the stems of the song, and so like the background melody of the track and everything is the same from what it was. But I changed a lot about it. So I've never been sure of how to say what that is, because I mean I didn't produce the whole beat, but I changed a lot about it, and I added a lot of stuff and took a lot of stuff away. So I've just like tagged the guy who originally produced it and said it was like a collaboration, because I don't really know how to state it, and I don't want to state it wrong, so I try to make sure I'm establishing to anybody that it's because I heard the beat and I really liked it, and I heard something I could put to it. But other than that, yes, all the beats I have made are produced by me.
Nice, yeah, cool. So I'm getting ready to drop a 2-track, just kind of like what you did with Running and Ryan's song. My words are hard. I'm gonna put out something similar to that, and I messaged a guy and said, "Hey man, are you interested in singing on the song with me?" And he said yes. And then just out of the blue, I don't even know why I decided to do this, but I put it in the message with, and I'm like, "Hey, if there's anything you think you want to add, throw it in there." And he's like, "Oh, dude, actually, I think I hear this like synth line behind this part," and I'm like, "All right, yeah, cool. This could turn into something unique,
Right.
So it's cool. I think you're correct in calling a damn, dude, my words are not working out right now. I think you're right in calling it a collaboration. I think that's appropriate. Did that artist seem pretty okay with everything then?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
Haven't heard from him? Well, no. So it's weird because it was just one of those things where I made a post and I did, I put whatever hashtags it was that he found me through, and he followed me and contacted me about like, hey, we should collaborate, the typical producer trying to promote themselves, buy some of my beats, this or that.
Right.
And so that's how I led into finding that beat. And I can't find his page anymore. So, I
hope he didn't hear your beat and was like, you know what, I'm done. No, I'm just kidding. That's funny. That's kind of, I don't know, dude. I would be like, damn, that's kind of upsetting. I don't know. That's weird, but I'm sure it's nothing. He probably just was like, you know what, making music is just not my thing anymore. It could be a million things we don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I do know that he was, oh my gosh, where was he? Because he was outside of the U.S. He was like, he was in like Germany or something like that. And he just like him and I talked a little bit, and he was just saying something about how there wasn't much of a music scene for what he was going for.
I see.
And I don't know if it had anything to do with his feelings towards that, or I don't know. Or
yeah, but
I don't know if he changed his like name or something.
That's a good point.
And now I just can't find him. So
that's a good point. That he could very well, especially being a German artist. I mean, like they're obviously German language is very, very different from ours. So he could have changed it to something else and you just not know. That's a good point. I didn't think of that. So a couple more things here I want to talk about, man. You've got so much going on lately that we could sit here and talk about forever. So I'm gonna save this note here for the end because I think this is a crazy thing that we got to talk about. But I have had the pleasure, and mind you, it is a pleasure because I love it so stinking much, to get a peek at your music video. That's not out yet. So if you want it, message me. I'll email it to you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to leak this shit right now. No, I'm just kidding. But so I got the opportunity to check it out, and I want to talk about it. Are we allowed to spill the beans on what the video is actually about and stuff?
Yes, because I've been pretty open about what the concept of it is as far as like what I've posted and story things. Okay. So like I have it out there that it's an Alice in Wonderland themed music video.
Right.
So yes,
you got to ask it because some artists are and understandably weird about talking. Like for instance, I had a Sava on the last episode, and they were putting a music video out, and he was very hesitant on talking about what the video was, mainly because he wanted people to watch it. Right. Which is I understand that completely. So I figured I would just at least ask before we we start diving into it.
Right.
But yeah, man. So I love the Alice in Wonderland theme. First off, so one of my favorite and most memorable parts of that music video is when, and I think you know what I'm about to say because you started laughing. Is somebody handed Aus a chainsaw and he just went ham on everything. It is one of the greatest parts of that music video. Let's just talk about that thing. So first off. I'm going to ask a couple questions, and you just answer them in any order you want to. But what was the inspiration for doing the Alice in Wonderland theme video? 2, like the setup was pretty good. I don't know if you hired these actors or if they're just friends of yours, but all of it looked great. And then what was the logic behind handing you a chainsaw and just letting you go to town?
All right, so Alice in Wonderland themed was. So the reason I picked that, all right, so my thinking behind it was that at the time, and probably still out of like the songs that I at least have released or coming out for the most part, that was like the closest thing that I felt to like a party song, or whenever I perform it, is whenever I feel as though I can make people the most hyped up.
I see. Okay.
And so I just didn't want to do another hanging out with the homies, throwing around alcohol bottles, and hanging out in front of a bar that's probably closed during that time. I just wanted something that like still resembled a party, but was not a typical party. So right. that's where that came from. And so I don't even know where I thought, I guess the tea party thing, is where I put the Alice in Wonderland with the whole party idea. And then second, oh my goodness, what was the second question?
I did ask you a lot. I believe the second question was like, shoot, what was my second question? No, I'm just kidding. I think I asked you about your actors, whether you hired them or whether they were friends and, things like that.
All right. So
just kind of the overall set design. Like it was very well done. That's why I was curious.
So set actors. So actors, they were friends. My buddy, my one buddy was dating the girl who acted as, or is still dating the girl who acted as Alice. And she does a lot of cosplay stuff. So she helped with some of the designs of everything. And then my buddy Dan, who plays the Mad Hatter, he's just a friend, and I thought he would be the most perfect part because he is the most animated out of all my friends.
He was good.
And
he was good.
He's just, and what's crazy is that's just like maybe 10% exaggerated version of who he is normally.
Really?
So he's hilarious. But so the set and everything, I went to probably 10 to 15 different like flea markets and thrift stores and found like teapots and the metal trays and the cloth. There was some stuff that I ordered online. The costumes were mostly Amazon orders that I found. There was a couple things that I got at stores. The pants for the Hatter, I purchased, and then I had to get them tailored to his size. There was actually a ton of stuff that we did.
I was going to say, you guys put a lot of work into this.
Yeah,
you guys did a great job because it's noticeable. Like the video is great.
I appreciate it. Thank you. So I just, if I'm gonna do something, I don't want to just do it. I don't want to just go like halfway.
Makes sense.
And so obviously I also had to consider what like my budget was with everything. So yeah, I just tried to fix the setting and everything and where we were and how everything was done just to like the budget that I actually had to work with for the whole thing. So really everything I found pretty reasonably cheap. I think everything in total I might have spent like $200, $250.
Wow, that's not bad at all.
Because I bought the chairs too, and then the table was given to me for free.
Oh, nice! Wow.
So yeah, there was definitely a lot of searching and all that kind of stuff. And then the last thing
was what made you what made you decide to get a chainsaw and just start going crazy?
So I wanted I wanted some sort of progression to the video.
Right.
And so it's just like normal Alice in Wonderland Tea Party, and then it just keeps getting weirder and weirder.
Yeah.
And I wanted to and then also not only as they are the characters around me, everything is getting more and more weird. I essentially like descent into madness, I guess you could say.
Oh, okay.
And so, I just wanted it eventually to just turn into destroying everything.
That's awesome.
That was just like, that was honestly the original starting point, was just like, man, I want a video where I just destroy everything.
I love it, dude. You did a great job. The music video is awesome. I mean, with local bands, man, you're always a little nervous when things like this get put out because dude, I've said this before, but I've been ever since I've started this show, you are my 31st episode, and of those 31 episodes that I've put out, I have come across such great talent in this local scene, and all of it has been, all the content that all these artists have put out, including us, has been grade A. Like, I'm surprised that all 31 artists aren't on the main stage right now. You know what I'm saying? Everything has been fantastic. I've enjoyed it, and I think you are on your way, man.
I appreciate it.
My wife said during the music, because my wife was sitting back here when I was rewatching and listening to a bunch of your stuff, and she's like, during your live video, you reminded her of Little Dicky a little bit. Just kind of your antics a little bit.
I have been told that quite a few times, especially live shows, because I don't know. I mean, one thing has always just been who I am, and it's just, I carry that on the stage too, and it's just really awkward and like a little quirky, and like, I just like in between songs, I'm sure a lot of people kind of like prepare some of the stuff they're gonna say. I just, whatever's on my mind, I just throw it out there, and it's just like, I have no reason to just like stray away from the person that I am.
Oh, of course.
And I guess that kind of like obviously reflects to Lil Dicky, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think I could, once I started kind of thinking about the music video, and after she said that, I was like, all right, I can see a little bit of some of the antics. I looked at her, I'm like, he doesn't make comedy rap, though. I don't know why you would say that. And then I was watching you, and I'm like, all right, I can kind of see where she's getting that notion at.
well, what's really funny, since you brought up the Lil Dicky comment, is I was watching his new show, Dave.
Dude, I love that show. It's so funny. It's so funny.
And I did not relate with him more than in this one moment in the show where he's bringing the snacks to the studio.
Yes, dude. I laughed so hard. So for the listener, if you haven't seen Dave, I'm going to set this up for everybody. So long story short, there is a big name rapper in the studio, and Lil Dicky is trying to get into the studio to get this big name rapper on Lil Dicky's song. And dude, I laughed so hard at this joke. And people are going to hear this and be like, that's not funny. But we're laughing our asses off over it. So what happens is his buddy, Gata, I think is his name, he's like, dude, what you need to do is just go get the food, go in there and be confident and like give him the food. And he opens the door to the studio and like, obviously for context's sake, there's a bunch of like big, like thug, like scary black guys in this studio. And this little Jewish white boy walks in and it's like, snack time.
Snack time. And then they just grab it from him and he leaves. And they push him out the door.
Oh my God. I laughed so fucking hard. Excuse me. I didn't mean to say that. I was laughing so hard on that part. Jeez, dude, that part had me raw. That's so funny you brought that part up, man.
See, but it's just like
Sorry, I didn't know. You sound like you're about to say something.
Oh, no, you're good. So that's that's literally how I feel like I've felt every show I've performed, of just like, this guy who's not really good at asserting himself. And then like there's times where I feel like I almost might weird people out because I'm like almost too friendly at first, or like I'm too open arms to some people. But like, I don't know. In that moment, I just related so much with Lil Dicky because I feel like I'm trying to like be accepted by all these local rappers at these shows I go to, and I don't know. I just really related with that moment.
That's one last thing about the Lil Dicky thing, but you're right because towards the end of that particular episode, like even though he was like super awkward and super strange during the whole time of even just trying to assert himself to get this rapper on board, when finally the rapper let him in the studio and they told him to spit. Dude, he like nailed it.
Oh, he goes.
So it's the same thing for you. Like if you listen to some of your music, like for instance, like you could be quirky and friendly, like before you even get on stage. But then if you listen to some of your music, it goes really hard, And it's like, okay, white boy obviously has some bars. So no, don't write yourself off, man. I think the quirkiness is a cool feature, especially in that music video. I was just like, all right, I can see he's like. There's a level of confidence though there too,
Well, and that's like, so my first music video I did that went along with my first EP. A lot of people told me this. Friends, mostly friends who also listen to rap music. They're like, "What you're doing's good, but why don't you be more like yourself?" And I was just like, I mean, I feel like I'm writing like myself because these are like reflections of my own emotions that I felt. But then like I started to kind of like get what they were saying. Now,
go ahead.
Like just, I don't know, showing off that quirky side, I guess. And being okay with just being who you are with everything that you write or do or the way that you present yourself. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. So do you think that they're like, and correct me if I'm wrong, was there comments like, sure, you're putting your emotion and stuff into the song and stuff, but like the performance isn't you? Is that what they were going for?
So
how you came off or how you sounded necessarily wasn't you.
I think it was more so just like, that everything topic wise that I talk about in my first EP is pretty dark. And I think that's what it is it's like an oversaturation of dark and not enough of like what makes you now, you know?
I see.
Like all those were based off of emotions that were like, you know, a thing of the past. I mean, some things come up, you know, some things were current whenever I wrote those songs, but you know, a lot of it was not, you know, what I am now. And I think that's what it was, is just like a saturation of these dark emotions and thoughts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. So we are going to go ahead and end the show here, man. Thank you so much for joining, man. I really appreciate that. I'm speaking with AUS. He is a rapper based out of like the Canton area. Is that correct?
Yes.
Canton area. Cool. That's my stomping ground is Canton. Did a lot of my growing up in Canton. But so yeah, I'm speaking with AUS. He's a rapper out of Canton. He just put out a 2-track EP called Running and Ryan's Song. Again, Ryan's Song is like the acoustic song that he wrote for his brother. If you want a little bit more of a taste of like the rap side of AUS, take a look at the Take That EP. That's the one that you originally turned me on to when we were emailing back and forth. So take a look at that. Now, I always end the show with a song. What song do you want me to play?
Play the other, the Sometime track.
Okay, good call. Yeah, we haven't talked about that, but we'll talk about that in the post show, in the local breakdown. So if you want to hear more from AUS, jump over to patreon.com/thelocalbreakdown. And just for $1, we're gonna speak more about your production side of things, how you write a song, you know, maybe lyrics, you know, things like that. And also too, we didn't get to this in this episode, but we're gonna get to it in the local breakdown. But AUS is diligently working on charity organizations, starting up his own thing, working with charity organizations. Like, he's very passionate about all of that. And I really want to pick your brain about all of that. So we're going to get to that in the local breakdown. So if you have not subscribed to that, jump over to patreon.com/TheLocalsOH. If you want to follow the show, again, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, search up TheLocalsOH and give us a follow there. Now, AUS, if somebody listens to this and they say, listen, I like what you're doing, I want to support you, I want to follow you, where do they need to find you?
So any platform of any sorts, it's at AUSRAPSOFFICIal, and that is my tag for Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all the things.
Are we following each other on Twitter?
No.
I think I'm only following you on Instagram.
See, so Twitter for me, I have it, but I don't do anything.
Every band says that. Get on Twitter, especially because you're a rapper. Twitter is like a rapper's best friend.
Okay.
Get on Twitter, start using it. I use Twitter a lot. I love Twitter. I love just the quick quips, you know, and then like if you're putting out stuff, I retweet it all the time. With Facebook and Instagram, I can't really do that.
Right.
I could put you in my story, but I can't really put, you know what I mean? I can't show a conversation between us.
Right.
So I'm going to hold you to that. Get on Twitter and use it.
I will get on it.
Perfect, man. So once again, thank you so much for joining the show, and I look forward to the music you're putting out. No problem, man. So as always, we end the show with the song. This song is called, is it Sometime?
Sometime.
This song is called Sometime by AUS. Enjoy the rest of your week, guys. Blah, let me do that again. Enjoy the rest of your week, guys.
Hey, do you mind if I come over? Then we could spend some time drifting away like we're on the seaside. Or I could spend the rest of my life growing lonely as the days go. Check on my phone, except the only message come from my mom. Guess you're better off though when you come back around. Palms are taking perspiration, now your moment's over. Chasing lonely as the days pass. Whoa, guess I gotta face it, I've worn this mask for way too long now. Got me tangled like Rapunzel, slightly offbeat, walking backward instead of always moving forward. Now I got a dirty secret, time's a ticking now. I wonder what is life a bringing. Feels like nothing's really working, then your face is graced upon me. Now nothing can replace you, cause you make me see things clearly, transparent like the old me. If I come over, then we could spend some time drifting away like we're on the seaside. Or I could spend the rest of my life growing lonely as the days go. Check on my phone, except the only message come from my mom. Guess you're as the days pass by. Over judgmental of my mental, standing taller than the braces support. Like I could really use some company, cause 1 + 2, it's you and me. It's hard for me to state that without you I'd be go crazy. Wasn't used to hitting no high notes, forgot how to read on my Bible. The choices I make, well they differ, the path I should follow. Token I choke all my problems away. Hard to find time, I'm not blessed every day. Exceptionally, this is destined to be. Let's take on the world, cause who better than we? Hey, do you mind if I come over? Then we could spend some time drifting away like we're on the seaside. Or I could spend the rest of my life growing lonely as the days go. Check on my phone, except the only message come from my mom. Guess you're better off, but when you come back around, palms are taking perspiration, now your moment's over, chasing lonely as the days pass. Hey, do you mind if I come over? Then we could spend some time drifting away like we're on the seaside. Or I could spend the rest of my life growing lonely as the days go. Check on my phone, except the only message come from my mom. Guess you're better off, but when you come back around, palms are taking perspiration, now your moment's over, chasing lonely as the days pass by.